Hey everyone, it is Jess here from the Reptile Nook, and welcome to part 3 of getting your first reptile. If you have not seen parts 1 and 2 of this series, please go back in our playlist and watch those. They are filled with a lot of other important information leading up to this stage in getting your pet reptile. So please make sure you go check those out and then come back to this video if you haven't already. As I mentioned in part 2, once you get your animal, you want to wait at least 2 weeks before you really As I mentioned in part 2, you want to make sure you wait at least 2 weeks before you start trying to train and socialize and handle your animal. The reason for this is just to make sure that this animal stays trusting you as best as you can get it to, and also to make sure that they are not getting stressed out. One of the first pieces of advice that I have when it comes to trying to train and socialize your animal to be handled and just be near you is to take advantage of those feeding times. Animals, including reptiles, can be very food motivated, so by using these feeding times, you can show them that you are the one providing their food, that you are not taking resources away from them, and that in fact you are providing those resources that they need. One way that you can take advantage of these feeding times is by taking advantage of either using soft tip tongs to feed the animals that way. You can also feed them by putting food into a cup and offering it to them, or just allowing them to watch you put that food in their enclosure. Over time, this will show them that you are not at risk of taking their food or their resources or hurting them or anything like that. And eventually, this may lead to them being more comfortable to, say, climb onto your arm by their own free will. One thing to avoid is just sticking your hands into the enclosure and trying to scoop them up or grab them, because they're not going to like this. Now, one thing you can do to help with this process is if you are able to get a front open enclosure, this is great. And this is because a lot of times reptiles do not like being approached from above because it makes them feel nervous that something's trying to eat them. And that is not our intent at all as their caretakers. So by being able to go in through the front, that sometimes allows them to be a lot more comfortable with you. Understanding your animal's body language and behavior is very helpful, so this way you can know when your animal is stressed out or had enough. Now, body language will be different for every single animal and every single species, so it's important to observe these things with your animal when you bring them home. When you are training, you want to make sure that you are always taking it slow and ending on a high note. Now, these are important because you don't want to rush too many steps into training when your animal isn't ready. And if you end the training on a negative note, that animal will remember that for the next training, and you're likely going to backtrack a few steps from where you want to be at that point. One way to make sure you're keeping these trainings nice and short and ending on a high note is start with shorter sessions a little less often. So again, take advantage of those feeding days, especially if you have an animal that's eating every 2 to 3 days. Take advantage of those feeding days and use that feeding time to interact with them and socialize with them. And as they get a little more comfortable, you could start allowing those sessions to be a little closer together and go for a little bit longer at a time. Another thing that you can do both as you're trying to socialize and train your animal and after you feel you've already accomplished that is by implementing enrichment into your animal care. Enrichment is anything that you can do to physically or mentally stimulate your animal, and it also helps to break up their day-to-day routine. Some of my favorite reptile enrichment options include puzzle feeders, scent enrichment, dig boxes, different toys or decor items that can be switched in and out of your enclosures, really anything that can get your animal to change up their ordinary routine. As you do add these items into their lives, you want to make sure that they are not a constant piece of their day-to-day routine or their lives. You want to be able to switch them out. So a lot of times people will recommend having them in the enclosure for just a day or two or switching them out regularly. At the Reptile Nook, we love providing enrichment to our animals. It can be really fun as a reptile keeper and owner to provide enrichment to animals because you can really get creative with what you are providing them. It's also very beneficial to ensure that your animal stays nice and happy and healthy with you. Once you feel like you have socialization down with your animal in training and you have a good enrichment protocol going on, it is great to keep researching your animal and their care needs. In fact, it's actually really important. Research will continue to be important through every stage of owning your reptile, even when they are established in your care. Now, the science behind animal care is constantly changing. Care requirements are changing for diets and frequency of feeding animals, substrate options, enclosure sizes, temperature and humidity. Those standards are always changing across all species in the reptile world. So it's important to make sure you never stop learning, always keep researching and updating your animal care as the new research comes out. I hope you found all 3 of these videos in this series helpful. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next video.